Hi everyone, my name is Salah. I run Startup Grind in Jordan, and if you guys don't know, Startup Grind is the world's largest community for entrepreneurs. We operate in 125 countries, and so far we are helping in educating and inspiring entrepreneurs, millions of entrepreneurs all across the world. Today I have a very special guest, Miss Sofana. I'd love to allow her to introduce herself, and I'm just gonna start by actually asking her to introduce her in the way she preferred to be identified with. So, Sofana, floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me. I am very honored to be amongst you all. My name is Sofana Dahlan. I am a proud Saudi. I'm culturally Hijazi and proud Meccan. A daughter and a mother of two beautiful girls. I'm a lawyer by profession, actively engaged in intellectual property rights and creative economy development.
Okay, wow, that's a lot, and it took me it took us like 2 hours of discussions to prepare of this session. Unfortunately, we only have 10 minutes for the session, but I'm just gonna have as much as I can of questions for Ms. Sofana. So I'm just gonna start basically with the question around. You said you're proudly Saudi, and I think there is a lot to be proud of in our heritage across this region, and we have so much to be proud of. But why it's important to be proud of our heritage? You also mentioned we have to be also open to other culture and learn from it. Why that is important and how it can drive change in the society.
Well, allow me to tell you a little story. My mother, when I was growing up, I used to go to Saudi schools in the morning. And in the evening, my mom has arranged a program where we are homeschooled studying Canadian curriculum, arts, music, all sorts of activities. And at the age of 12, I went to her rebelling. I said, all my friends are having, one school. Why do I have to have two schools? And she told me something that I didn't understand then, but I appreciate so much now. She said, the school that you go to in the morning is for you to understand the people, because the same input is in all of you. And the education that I'm investing in the after school is for you to become unique. And I believe, and to become unique and to understand the world. And I believe that this type of education allowed people like me to be bridges between two cultures. A culture that we have our roots, but it's also another understanding of other culture that is going to expand our dreams and horizon.
Okay, okay, you told me it's a very nice way to address your kids' education. How this if you would like to emphasize more, how this impacted your journey, and what would you say to parents today who are raising their kids when it comes to education?
I think it's very important. I mean, understanding your heritage gives you roots and gives you also a sense of identity. But being exposed to the world will expand your horizon and opportunities. And I think it's very important for parents to open doors for the kids. And education is one of these doors. By giving them proper education, expanding their education, making them think out of the box will allow them to develop skills that are not conventional to our, let's say, conventional, traditional education. I think this is very important. I think for me, the education that my parents invested in allowed me to expand my horizon and be who I am today. And if I look, I am a result not only of what my parents invested in, but also what my grandparents also invested in. Because if I didn't have enlightened parents, I wouldn't be able to reach where I am today.
Hmm. Interesting. This is on the individual level. How this can change the society at large?
Well, as I said, being properly educated and being open to societies will actually impact the society, impact the development or social development of societies. If we look at, let's say, from our heritage, at cities that is like Cairo or like Beirut or like Mecca, you will find that these cities are melting pots of culture. And the reason why they had this civilization is because they have allowed the dialogue, the cultural dialogue to happen. They've allowed knowledge transfer. It is within their social structure. Without this interaction and without this dynamic, you will not have evolving society. You will be stagnant.
Interesting. Let's jump into, you said I'm a lawyer by profession. Why you decided to be a lawyer?
Well, I was born and raised in the 80s, so late 70s, early 80s and 90s. So knowing Saudi Arabia then, it was a very conservative society, very closed. And growing up in these circumstances as a woman, I've realized that at one point that my brother would have more rights than I do. The curfew is different, the privileges he has is different. Not that I have directly suffered from it at home, but in the society. And the first question I had is, who gives him the right and not me? Who gives this right? Is it the right that is given by God, or is it the right that is given by my father, or is it by the king, or is it by the law? Who gives this right? Who distributes rights within society? And so the first thing, I thought about is I have to study who. I have to study law. In order for me to understand my rights, I need to study law. And by understanding my rights, I can be able to help others understand their rights.
I think your journey as a lawyer was quite long. I don't think we have so much time to go over every chapter of it, but I want to jump into the chapter where you helped a lot the creative industry in Lebanon, in Kuwait, in Saudi, across the region. Give me like your key learnings from this experience and why the creative industry is important for our society.
Well, the most important thing is I have so much gratitude to Egypt. I've studied in Egypt in Cairo University, and then I've finished my master's in مركز الدراسات العليا مركز الدراسات الإسلامية والقانونية المركز العالي للدراسات القانونية والإسلامية. And in my journey in Egypt to fit, I've learned so many things. And one of them is actually being able to experience firsthand the heritage in general, but then looking at it, dissecting it, looking at the Mamalik heritage, looking at the Fatimiyin heritage, and what they have left behind. And that made me realize that in order for us to leave impact and to have evolving societies, we need to invest in our creatives and these creative minds that built, that designed, that produced all these beautiful things that actually set the story of that nation. And so working as a lawyer, I was introduced to I was introduced to it while studying in Egypt, but then I was introduced to it also when, from a legal perspective, when I was working in Kuwait, where I started working on what they called entertainment industry. And then I started being introduced to intellectual property, trademarks, and patents, and so on. And I started specializing in that domain. I've realized while working on them that a lot of creatives have signed contracts that are unjust to themselves, not because they are not intellectual or they're not smart. It's very simply because the way they are, they have short attention span, they're visual people, they cannot tolerate a contract of 10 pages. So they get to sign these contracts just because they're ignorant about it and they're unaware. So that made me feel that, you know, as a lawyer, we are there to solve problems, right? Conflict. And I felt that I have to expand what is the meaning of resolving a conflict, and look at how I can resolve this problem before it happens. So I started doing these workshops on how to read your contracts for creatives, dividing them to 12 sectors and looking at the journey of a creative from a legal lens or a legal prism. So, for example, a fashion designer would go through a service contract, consignment contract, and so on. And this is how I start giving the workshops on how to read that specific contract. What do you need to look for? And that started my whole company, Tashkil, which is basically a platform to empower and promote creatives in the MENA region. My second venture, which is Kayan Space, a co-working space for entrepreneurs and creatives. The Saudi National Creative Initiative, which is mapping creative initiatives in Saudi Arabia to understand the DNA and to look at the areas and gaps in the ecosystem and how we need to address it and develop it. I think, you know, my journey has led me to this path, but I do owe it to Egypt.
Okay, I think when it's come to the entertainment sector, I think the Egyptians have been pioneering the sector for decades now, I guess. Especially with music and movies and theater. Let's go to the part where you decided, I'm not only going to support the creative industry legally, I'm also going to invest in them. Why you decided to go this way, and what is your role as an angel investor?
After a while, you evolve naturally. The reason why I started becoming an angel investor is I started becoming a judge in many panels for entrepreneurs. And a lot of the times I was very sad that a lot of the people that are classified that they're creative entrepreneurs don't get the chance to get the investment. And there isn't specialized VC funds for that. And the reason is because it's a long-term investment. You know, you will not get your return of investment very quickly, which is not true, but that's the perception. So I just decided, you know, if I understand the industry very well, I understand the entrepreneurs very well, I do see the potential, and therefore I should invest. I think also women have the tendency to become angel investors because their decision of investment is mainly social than it is calculated. Yes, I do calculate my risk, but it's a high risk.
It's very interesting because there is a massive wave now in the VC world toward having women running VCs, and I'm super excited to see in 10 years how their decision making procedures, which is I'm 100% sure it's a little bit different from males, how it will change the kind of companies or the unicorns we're going to see next in the world. And let's go into my final question, which is, what an advice you would give entrepreneurs and angel investors who are about to start their journey?
So my advice for entrepreneurs is the following: believe in God, in yourself. You're not created to do nothing. You're unique, and there are so many talents that are instilled in you to actually become something. And never give up. Perseverance is key in entrepreneurship. You have to be very positive. For angel investors or for investors in general, don't just follow the numbers and your mind. Also follow your heart. And investment is not just investing in money, it's investing in time. I think, you know, closing it with Khalil Gibran's quote, you know, you give but little when you give out of your position, but possessions, but it's when you give out of yourself is what really counts, is real giving. So thank you so much for having me. I hope I have, enriched
I really
in some
wished
way.
I had more time. I'd love to thank the guys at Techni for having both of us. And I think they have been doing great with the conference for so many years. And I think the only thing I can say is I'm very sad not to be in Alexandria. I think same applies to you.
Yes.
And I know how much you love Egypt. And have a lovely conference, everyone.